Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. From the Pineapple to the Big Apple, from Maine to Spain, this is the Zero Dark Tony channel. I am Tony D, your host. We are live right now. The UN Security Council is now meeting. Excuse me. The UN Security Council is now meeting live in Manhattan regarding the Iran crackdown, and we've got it right here for you. They are starting to gather, getting themselves in their seats. And today we've got New York and Minneapolis. One is the heart of global diplomacy, I guess. The other is the latest American battleground. And today they're kind of telling the same story. So this is in New York. The UN Security Council is meeting in emergency session over Iran's crackdown, where more than 2,000 people have reportedly been killed and thousands more arrested for daring to protest their government. In Minneapolis, tear gas is still hanging in the air after ICE agents shot and killed Renee Good, wounded another man in a separate operation, and sparked quite a conflict and a clash last night in Minneapolis. So today we're going to break down and watch what the UN is actually doing about Iran. We're going to check them streets in Minneapolis and how both fights are really about one thing: who gets to use force and who has to live with it. So hit subscribe, drop where you're watching from in the chat. And it looks like they're getting started in just a couple seconds here. And the U.S. has requested this Emergency Security Council meeting over the Iran protests, accusing Tehran of mass killings, torture, threats of death sentences for detainees. UN officials are saying that the unrest began over inflation and a currency collapse, and it's become a nationwide uprising with at least 2,600 people reportedly deceased by their security forces. The highest death toll since 1979. Greetings, everybody around the world. Thank you for joining me here today. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. The US and the G7 are rolling out new sanctions on Iranian officials, blamed for ordering the violence and warning of more if this crackdown continues. Now, Iran tells the council it's facing rioters and foreign interference, insisting it is restoring order. Make sure we got volume here. He's checking his cell phone. The president of the UN Security Council is the Somalian representative. And human rights groups and a coalition of 30 NGOs are demanding independent investigations, a halt to the executions, and UN action to stop this violence. Greetings, everybody. Welcome. Come in, come in. This is live breaking news from New York City. And the UN Council is absolutely divided. Some members are pushing for tough measures, and others are warning against meddling in other governments. And in Minneapolis, just the basics of the Good case. ICE agent Jonathan Ross fatally shot Renee Nicole Good during a traffic stop operation. DHS says he was dragged and feared for his life, while local witnesses and video raise serious doubts on both sides. And that sounded like the chime. There they are. Everyone grabbing their seat. It sounds like the microphones have come on. And here we go.
Council is called to order.
Welcome, everybody. Hit the like button. Hit the gavel. The meeting is called to order.
The provisional agenda for this meeting is the situation in the Middle East. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the following briefers to participate in this meeting. Ms. Martha Ama Akia-Pobe, Assistant Secretary General for Africa, Department of Political and Peace-Building Affairs and Peace Operations. Ms. Masih Al-Nijat, journalist and political dissident. And Mr. Ahmed
Political
Watini,
descendant? You mean dissident?
Human rights activist and journalist.
Political descendant.
It is so decided.
What's up, everybody? What's up, mods?
The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda.
And there's
I now
the
give the floor to Ms. Martha Ama Akia-Pobe.
Iran representative.
Mr. President, for nearly 3 weeks, popular protests in the Islamic Republic of Iran have rapidly evolved into nationwide upheaval, resulting in significant loss of life. Demonstrations started on 28 December 2025 as a group of shopkeepers in Tehran's Grand Bazaar gathered to protest the sharp collapse of the currency and soaring inflation amid a wider economic downturn and worsening living conditions. In the following days, demonstrations quickly spread throughout the country and turned into mass anti-government protests, the largest since the Women Life Freedom demonstrations of 2022. Protesters voiced grievances that went beyond long-standing economic and financial hardships. Marchers called for the downfall of the government and demanded freedom, dignity, and human rights, with some protesters chanting pro-monarchy slogans. The protests were initially peaceful, with scattered clashes between protesters and security forces, according to reports by the media, observations of our United Nations colleagues in the country, and accounts by the government of Iran. However, on the evening of 8th January, protests spread throughout Tehran and major cities. In response, the Iranian authorities imposed a near-total communications blackout, which remains largely in place today. The authorities also ordered university dormitories to be evacuated, erected concrete barriers around city centers, and reportedly used excessive force against protesters. According to media and human rights groups, security forces reportedly killed hundreds or possibly thousands of protesters and bystanders between 8th and 10th January. The United Nations is unable to verify these figures. The government of Iran has stated that it was compelled to act after what it deemed organized terrorists and rioters infiltrated the protests and opened fire on both security forces and demonstrators, aiming to provoke foreign military intervention. It has also blamed these elements for the killing of hundreds of civilians and members of the security forces. Mr. President, the Secretary General has expressed deep concern over the reported excessive use of force in Iran and stressed the urgent need to prevent further casualties. The Secretary General underscored that all Iranians must be able to express their grievances peacefully and without fear. He stressed that the rights to freedom of expression, association, and peaceful assembly enshrined in international law must be fully respected and protected. He further urged steps to restore access to information, including lifting the communications blackout. Human rights monitors report mass arrests in Iran in connection with the current wave of protests, with estimates exceeding 18,000 detainees as of mid-January 2026, although the UN cannot verify these figures. We call on the authorities to respect due process and fair trial rights for all detainees. All must be treated humanely and allowed access and visits by their families. In particular, we call on Iran to halt any executions linked to protest-related cases. All deaths should be promptly, independently, and transparently investigated. Those responsible for any violations must be held to account in line with international norms and standards. Mr. President, the situation in Iran is fluid and deeply concerning. Protests continue, albeit reportedly at a smaller scale than last week. In this context, we note with alarm various public statements suggesting possible military strikes on Iran. This external dimension adds volatility to an already combustible situation. All efforts must be undertaken to prevent any further deterioration. The Secretary General remains convinced that all concerns regarding Iran, including those related to the nuclear issue and ongoing protests, are best addressed through diplomacy and dialogue. He urges maximum restraint at this sensitive moment and calls on all actors to refrain from any actions that could lead to further loss of life or ignite a wider regional escalation. Mr. President, the Secretary General reaffirms the principles of the Charter, including the obligation of member states to settle disputes by peaceful means and the prohibition of the threat or use of force in international relations. These principles are not abstract ideals. They are the bedrock of international peace and security. They remain as relevant today as they were when the United Nations was founded. Thank you.
I thank Ms. Pope for the briefing.
That was the
I
briefing.
now give the floor to Ms. Masih Ali Najad.
Hello, everyone. My name is Masih Ali Najad. I am a woman from Iran. Mr. President, Excellency, members of the Council, I am honored to be invited by the United States to testify before United Nations Security Council. I am here today to warn you, on behalf of millions of Iranians What is needed now to bring justice to those who order massacre in Iran is real and concrete action against a regime that do not understand the language of diplomacy. The United Nations has failed to respond with the urgency this moment demands. The Secretary General himself has not spoken publicly against the massacre unfolding in Iran. Only a written statement through his spokesperson, silence at this moment, send a signal, send a message to the killers of young protesters alongside their family members. I strongly believe that the regime in Iran heard the clear message from the Secretary General. I think the members of this body have forgotten the privilege and responsibility of sitting in this room. Secretary General, I know you hear me. I want to directly talk to you. Why are you afraid of the Islamic Republic? Millions of unarmed Iranians, innocent and unarmed protesters, have been silenced with bullets, mass arrest, prison, and a total communications blackout. No internet, no cell phones, and no landlines. They put Iran in a total darkness. I am here to bring their voices here in this room. I am here to tell you that a brutal slaughter has taken place in my beloved homeland, Iran, and it will get much worse if the world do not take serious action. Iran is facing a nationwide uprising that cuts across Iran, across the society, with a clear demand to end Islamic Republic. At the same time, a nationwide campaign by the Islamic Republic to erase it, to silence people. The protests start on December 28th, sparked by collapse of Iranian currency, but immediately turned into what Iranian people call it, a revolution, a total rejection against 47 years of tyranny and oppression. Protests spread to more than 100 cities and involved every layer of the societies. Shopkeepers, workers, teachers, nurses, and those who wave the historic lion and sun flag, and those ethnic minorities, including Kurds, Baluch, all other minorities, men and women, shoulder to shoulder in the streets.
Welcome, everybody. Hit that like button.
When it comes to freeing Iran, I have to say
Live
that loud and
emergency
clear,
UN Council
that
meeting.
all Iranians are united. From Tehran to Tabriz, to Rash to Ahvaz, from major cities to small towns and villages that we barely even heard the names of those small towns and villages in the media. They are in the street. Millions of Iranians flooded into the streets, demanding that their money stop being stolen.
Let's get some more likes on the board, guys. Let's get this video out there.
Hezbollah, to Houthi, the money of the workers, the money of innocent people who do not have now the capability of to buy a bread. The entire nation looking at freedom right now. What followed was regime using military weapons, AK-47 against innocent people. According to Iran International Media Broadcasting, the death toll has passed more than 12,000. Just a day later, CBS reported more than 20,000 people have been killed, and they are not the numbers. They are not the statistics. We don't even know the real numbers. Citizen journalists from inside Iran have sent videos showing piles and piles of body bags on the top of each other. Iranians exiled. Because of the internet shutdown, they zoom in to make sure whether their relatives and their beloved one are on the body bags or not. I myself have received urgent phone call and phone messages from Iranians, thanks to Starlink, inside the country, asking outside world for urgent help. They welcome when President Trump offered to rescue unarmed people being shot in their heart, in their chest, by the security forces inside Iran. One activist who cannot be named for his safety told me,
Thank you, 86 GOP 20 gifted memberships.
They are finishing.
Welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the gifted memberships. Appreciate it.
They told me the security forces have stormed into hospitals and taking away the injured. I have also received multiple messages from families of victims who say the security forces forced them to pay money to take the dead body of their beloved one to bury them. On January 8, 2026, the Islamic Republic shut down the internet and imposed a technical blackout. Not to stop protests, because people are fed up and they are in the streets anywhere, but to hide their crimes, their brutality. This was not a technical mistake or failure. It was deliberate. When a regime turns off the internet during mass killings, and at the same time, the leaders of the same regime using the privilege of freedom of speech on social media to mislead the rest of the world, it is not about restoring order. It is about destroying the evidence. If it was not for Starling inside Iran, we couldn't have been able to have even these informations. The Islamic Republic does not limit its crimes within its own borders. They kill their opponents at home and target those who expose their brutality abroad. Here, even here, on US soil, and every corner of the world, in Europe, in Canada, in Australia, everywhere. And they are not alone. This is called transnational repression, and the Chinese government helping them, Venezuelan dictators are helping them, Russian mobsters being hired by the Islamic Republic to target their dissidents and opponents beyond their own borders.
Wow.
I now address the representative of the Islamic Republic directly. You have
He's right there.
tried to kill me 3 times. I have seen my would-be assassin with my own eyes in front of my garden in my home in Brooklyn.
Wow.
In United States of America, in the courthouse, I have seen my would-be assassin confessing that they have been hired by the Revolutionary Guards to end my life. My crime? Simply echoing the voice of innocent people that you killed them. Your leader, Ali Khamenei. He ordered my killing. He said that American agent who compared compulsory hijab to the Berlin Wall must be killed. I am that woman, and I am not the agent of America. I have agency, but I am thankful to American government and the law enforcement to protect my life. And it was not, if it was not the protection of the law enforcement, I couldn't have been here to testify for millions of people who are facing the same killers, facing the same terrorist regime in my country. Yes, protection matters. Unfortunately,
that's pretty heavy.
I live with survivor's guilt because many Iranians do not have the same protection. The same IRGC with the same AK-47 killed them in front of the eyes of their family member. 2 would-be assassins received 25 years prison sentence here in New York, and I'm going to face 2 other killers being hired by the Islamic Republic in March, and they are the one who were assigned by the same IRGC member to assassinate President Trump. The Islamic Republic rules through fear. It makes people disappear from public life, from memory, from history. So today, I want to record the names of those who refuse to be afraid and erased. Setayesh Shafi'i, 20 years old. Before the internet was cut, she wrote on her social media, "They are cutting off my internet, but I love you all." She was killed by the Islamic Republic IRGC.
Oof.
Raybin Moradi, 17 years old, shot in the back a young football player. He was killed by the same IRGC. Mehdi Zad Parvar, a popular athlete, he wrote on his Instagram before going to the street, "I know I may be killed, but I have no fear. I want my rights." He was killed by the same IRGC. Siavash Shirzad, 30 years old, his family begged him not to go to the streets because of his safety. He said to his family, "I go to the street to celebrate the victory of our revolution because President Trump promised to rescue our lives." He was killed by the same Revolutionary Guards. Negin Qadimi, 20 years old, she died in her father's arms after being shot by the Revolutionary Guards member. I feel guilty that I don't name the rest. The list of names goes on and on. They knew they will face guns and bullets, but they wanted justice. So now let me name their killers. Ali Khamenei, who declared protesters would be put in their place. Judiciary Chief Ghulam Hussein Mohseni Ejei and the IRGC commanders who publicly vowed punishment would be maximum. Ali Larijani, who promised no mercy for those who questioned the regime, while his own daughter, his own family live here in the United States of America. They don't deserve to enjoy the privilege of freedom in America. Like the other children and relatives of the Ayatollah saying death to America, their relative live here in America. 3 years ago, another Iranian human rights defender stood here in this room to warn you about another nationwide protest, Women, Life, Freedom, after the murder of Mahsa Jina Amini for the crime of simply showing a bit of her hair. How many women are sitting here? You could easily get killed simply for showing your hair. Mahsa got killed. That sparked a revolution. And
Wow.
women and men shoulder to shoulder took to the street. More than 700 people got killed. We have seen this before. We have more names to remember. In 2009, Neda Agha Sultan, symbol of more than 100 people who got killed. They named President Obama to protect them. President Obama was looking to open the doors of diplomacy to a regime whose language of negotiating with its own people is guns and bullets. We've seen this in 2019 with Pouya Bakhtiari, who was killed in front of the eyes of his mother, Nahid Shirpishe. At the same time, President Biden was trying to keep the doors of diplomacy open, handing out billions of dollars to the regime that forced the family members to give money to the regime to take the dead body of their beloved one back. Faced with the regime using military weapons against civilians, the Iranian people are asking the world to help through actions, not back-to-back meetings and empty condemnation. We don't need empty words. People of Iran are asking the Islamic Republic, are telling you the Islamic Republic no longer can be reformed, and asking you that the Islamic Republic no longer be treated as a legitimate government. Today, the number of those killed is much higher than I told you. This regime, again and again, cannot be reformed. Let me be very clear. The Islamic Republic behave like ISIS, and the Islamic Republic must be treated like ISIS. This is how you can save lives. Thank you so much.
A very
I thank
powerful
Ms.
statement.
Najat for for the briefing. I now give the floor to Mr. Ahmed Batibi.
Wow, that's wild.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a note here, but I don't want to read from this note. I want to talk from my heart here and share my experience with you when I was in the prison of Islamic Republic. My name
He's
is Ahmed
right
Batibi,
there.
Iranian-American
They're just like, that
terrorist
guy.
and human
That
rights
guy.
activist. A few years ago,
Damn.
when I was a student, the Iranian regime arrested me
cold
and sent
piece.
me to jail for attending a demonstration, exactly that thing we see in the street right now in Iran. And they said that demonstration against the government, Islamic regime in Iran, is fighting with the government, and we are representative of the God, of Allah on the earth.
Right in the bottom it
And
says
when you
UN Security
fight
Council.
with our regime, it means you fight with God. And based off the Islamic rule, Sharia, your punishment is death. They gave me capital punishment. They sent me jail. They kept me 2 years in solitary confinement. They tortured me, many torture, including fake execution. They killed other people and kept me there. I watched them, how they die to torture me. For 3 times they did that. They cut my body and put salt on my body. I can show you, if you do not believe me, I can show you my body right now to see the sign of these cuts. They torture mentally and physically for many reasons. One of the demand they had was bring me front of the camera of state TV to tell to people I'm a spy of United States. They torture me. I go and say I got money from the United States, Mossad, Israel, CIA, to run demonstration against the government. I never did that, but they torture me to do that. Exactly same situation we have in Iran right now. If you see the state TV, you see many innocent people. They came in the streets, just chant their rights, and the Iranian regime put them in front of the camera, and they say that, yes, we are agent of this Mossad. And right now I'm here. After 1 decade of the prison, I had this chance to escape from the prison. And this country, the United States of America, opened the door in front of me. I come here. I'm safe here. And in front of you, gentlemen, representative of demonic regime in Iran, the Ayatollah's regime. When we are talking about Iranian regime,
Wow,
we do
point
not
him out.
talk about a normal regime. We are talking about demonic cult. They have their own ideology. They have gun. They have money. And their mission is exporting their ideology to other countries. I don't want to talk about the details, but this is their mission. They have a technique. They have some chief apologists. Their job is coming here and clean the face of the regime, and they wash their bloody hand of the regime. But it doesn't work anymore. I'm here in front of you. You tried to kill me, but you couldn't.
Wow.
You cannot kill all the people. And don't laugh, sir. Don't laugh at me. Because a day come, we come top of your head, and you have to go court and answer for all those things you do here today, sir. Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. 2 days ago, I was talking to someone who worked for government. He said that in the media, you see that they say 12,000 people died just during these days we have demonstration. That's correct. But the accurate number is much, much more than that. Because the Iranian regime buried the people, the dead people, without any identification. They do not give chance to their family even go and get their body, and they bury them in unknown cemeteries. The number of dead people is much, much more than this. I was talking to an activist in Iran. He said that many of those people right now killing people in the street, they are Iranian regime proxy forces. Hashd al-Shabi from Iraq, Hezbollah from Lebanon, Fatimiyun or I don't know, Zainabiyun, they are Afghan people. He said that many of these people shoot us. They cannot even talk Farsi, and they talk Arabic with Iraqi accent. Everything I have to say details. Massey said that I don't want to get the time. But the only thing you have to know that, sir, you saw a lot of bravery during these days from Iranian people. But it's not enough. You cannot go fight with a demonic regime like Islamic Republic, which has gone, ammo, money, power, and everything. We need your help. Not just condemn something or say that, no, it's bad, don't do it. We need actual act. We need physical act. I want to talk to the President of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump. I appreciate you, President. Everything you do is awesome. But during these days, you encourage people to go in the street. That was the good thing. But don't leave them alone. They need your help. You encourage them, and they are in the street. Please listen to them. They are chanting. They say what they want. They need your help. If you leave them alone, I'm talking about all official and leader of the world, we need your help. If you leave them alone, we cannot change the regime in Iran. And we continue this mass killing and genocide in Iran. Thank you so much.
Pretty powerful statement right there.
Mr. Batibi for the briefing.
The briefing.
I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statements.
You kidding me?
I give the floor to the representative of the United States.
Okay, here we go. USA.
Thank you, Mr. President, for chairing today's important meeting. And thank you to our briefers, both of whom have been personally targeted for assassination, both of whom have been tortured at the hands of this brutal regime. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your strength, and for coming today to speak on behalf of the Iranian people. Colleagues, let me be clear. The level of violence, the level of repression that the Iranian regime has unleashed on its own citizens, its own people,
He's running it just for January.
has repercussions
They
for
rotate.
international peace and security. You're going to hear today that it doesn't, that it's an internal matter. Absolutely wrong and false. This demands this council's attention. The people of Iran are demanding their freedom like never before in the Islamic Republic's brutal history. Unarmed, peaceful people who love their country are taking to the streets in pursuit of their legitimate aspirations for a better future. Well, this is our message. President Donald J. Trump and the
Hit the
United
like button
States
for
of
me, guys. Let's
America
get this video out there.
stands by the brave people of Iran. Period. And regardless of its excuses, and you will hear many today from the Iranian regime and from its friends,
Shots
the
fired.
regime is solely responsible for the economic misery of the Iranian people and the repression of their freedom, and they will be held accountable. The estimates of the numbers of protesters killed by the regime so far range from the thousands to the tens of thousands. Although visibility into the totality of the violence has been obscured deliberately by the regime's nationwide internet blackout. Why has the internet been shut down for weeks? Why have the phone lines been cut? Why are commercial satellite communications being jammed in a very sophisticated manner? We've had a complete blackout. No internet, no phones, nothing. Only thanks to the Starlink system do we even have some window, a limited window, into the atrocities that are ongoing. Well, President Trump has been clear. He will not, nor should the international community, tolerate innocents being slaughtered in the streets. Since 1979, For decades.
Oh, I
the
can't wait to
regime
hear
has
from the
posed
Iranian
a threat
representative.
to peace and security in the name of a religious ideology. The regime calls for death to America and the annihilation
This is
of
live from the
Israel.
UN in New
Even
York
as
City.
its own citizens cannot afford the very basics, food, drinking water, very basic medicines, it spends billions to develop its nuclear and ballistic missile programs to threaten its neighbors in the world and its support of terrorism. Well, from its inception, the regime has been the world's #1 state sponsor of terrorism, so declared year after year, bringing uncountable, death and suffering to innocents from Beirut all the way to Buenos Aires, while its rulers have become rich off of oppression and misery meted upon the Iranian people. The Iranian regime has also been a serial human rights abuser.
Thank you for the $2 super chat. We're
from
not
its
putting
very
that one in the
first
window,
day
though.
in power. And as you heard today, young women like Mahsa Amini have been murdered for daring to uncover their hair in public,
Thank you, though.
while religious minorities have been subjected to the most severe persecution. These abuses have been documented right here by this body, have been documented at length by the United Nations, have been documented by the Secretary General's own regular reports on the situation of human rights in Iran, the most recent of which was released just last year in 2025. Colleagues, in addition to the gross human rights abuses, in addition to its illegal march towards a nuclear weapon, in 1979, the regime we now know, led by Ayatollah Khomeini, gave support to radical students who attacked the United States Embassy in Tehran, took over 50 Americans hostage, and held them in captivity for over 400 days. That was followed by the bombing attack on the United States Embassy in Beirut, killing 17 Americans and scores of Lebanese civilians, followed by the supported and direction of terrorists who drove 2 trucks filled with explosives into U.S. and French barracks in Beirut, killing 241 American soldiers and 58 French military personnel, all part of a multinational force invited by the Lebanese government. It's responsible for the deaths of over 600 American service members and countless others in Iraq. Bottom line is Iran's partners and proxies with Iranian weaponry, documented by the United Nations Yemen panel of experts, have repeatedly attacked our partners in the Gulf and attempted to damage global energy infrastructure. And then finally, the Iranian regime state television amplifies calls for a, quote, one-bomb solution to wipe Israel off the map, which ironically would be not only a massacre of all Israelis, but also the Palestinian people whom the regime claims to support. In 2011, the regime attempted to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States in Washington, D.C., but luckily the attempt was thwarted, and further, the regime has continued to plot assassination attempts against the President of the United States, against President Trump, and other senior U.S. government officials, in addition to those who dare speak out living here in the United States. Colleagues, Iran has destabilized the Middle East for decades. It has supported and enabled Hamas's brutality, its hostage-taking, its heinous October 7th attacks. It has funded Hezbollah. It has funded the Houthis. Iranian-aligned militia groups in Iraq, including Kataib Hezbollah, have attacked the United States and the region again and again. It's backed the brutal Assad regime, and at every turn, the regime has put terrorist proxies in other nations before the welfare of its own citizens. And as a result of the regime's actions, putting money in the pockets of terrorists, funding its nuclear and missile programs instead of the basic needs for the people of Iran, Iranians have had enough. The regime's dereliction of duty to its own citizens is what has put the Ayatollahs in the positions they are in today, with hundreds of thousands, if not millions, protesting in the streets after decades of neglect and abuse. So everyone should ask themselves, everyone sitting here today, how many people are dead? How many people are wounded, maimed, and abused in the Middle East, in Israel, in Gaza, in Syria, in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, even Venezuela, because of the regime's support for terrorism as the largest state sponsor? And I would like to address the allegation put forward by the regime that these inspired protests are somehow a foreign plot to give a precursor to military action. Everyone in the world needs to know that the regime is weaker than ever before and therefore is putting forward this lie because of the power of the Iranian people in the streets. They are afraid. They're afraid of their own people. Iran says it's ready for dialogue, but its actions say otherwise. This is a regime that rules through oppression, through violence, and through intimidation, and has destabilized the Middle East for decades. Well, enough is enough. We all have a responsibility to support the Iranian people and to put an end to the regime's neglect and oppression of the Iranian nation. Colleagues, let me be clear. President Trump is a man of action, not endless talk like we see at the United Nations. He has made it clear all options are on the table to stop the slaughter. And no one should know that better than the leadership of the Iranian regime. Thank you, Mr. President.
Wow.
I thank the representative of the United States for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Liberia.
Liberia. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Everyone gets a seat here.
I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the A3 members,
Oh, boy.
namely the Democratic Republic of the
Ungawa.
Congo, Somalia, and my own country, Liberia. The A3 thanks Assistant Secretary General for her comprehensive...
The English chat only. If you put it in the chat, we don't understand it, it's going.
to the remarks offered by civil society representatives. We welcome the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran to this meeting. Mr. President, we underscore the importance of respecting human rights, fundamental freedoms, and the legitimate aspirations of peaceful demonstrators, and call upon all parties to exercise maximum restraint and protect civilians. The A3 notes reports of ongoing protests and demonstrations across numerous cities.
This live stream just
and
passed
provinces
110,000 views. Hit that like button
involving
for me,
a
guys.
broad cross-section of the Iranian population, including youth, women, workers, and members of minority communities.
Communities.
The A3 is concerned
I don't like
by
this guy.
reports
I saw
that
him on the last one.
reaction to the
Very
protests
white.
and demonstrations has led to a significant number of deaths, arrests, and destruction of properties.
Deeper and deeper.
Reports of the use of excessive force, including live live ammunitions, and raids on hospitals are alarming and unacceptable. We note the letter of the Iranian government circulated as a document of the Council, as well as the underlying socio-economic drivers of these protests, which include deteriorating economic and social conditions. The A3 recognizes that each country
They three recognize it.
bears
Close.
primary responsibility for addressing its internal issues through its own constitutional processes, other legal frameworks, and national institutions. However, we underscore the primacy of the Charter of the United Nations and relevant international obligations, and emphasize that the protection of civilians must remain paramount under all circumstances.
Get to the guy from Iran. We want to hear from him.
The A3
What's he got to say?
believes that dialogue, inclusivity, and genuine engagement are essential tools for addressing tensions and grievances in a peaceful and sustainable manner in every society.
Chat's lit today.
Therefore, we encourage all actors in Iran to exercise maximum restraint and to seek peaceful, constructive, and inclusive dialogue with full respect for the rule of law, the rights of citizens, and the protection of civilians. Mr. President, the A3 emphasizes the necessity to respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Iran and feels compelled to remind leaders of their obligations to their citizens, including the right to live in peace, security, and express themselves within the boundaries of the law. Separately,
Thank you. Welcome.
connected, the A3 takes note of the broader regional and international
Live emergency UN Security Council meeting. This is the representative from Liberia.
Their intersection with long-standing issues related to the nuclear file and regional security dynamics, which underscores the risk of broader repercussions.
Melissa.
The point made by the Assistant Secretary General. And so in this regard, the A3 reaffirms the central role of the global non-proliferation regime, including the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. Transparency and sustained diplomatic engagement remain essential to building trust and reducing the risk of miscalculation. We encourage all concerned parties to refrain from rhetoric or actions that could escalate tensions and instead prioritize dialogue and confidence-building measures that support regional and international stability. To conclude, Mr. President,
thank you.
The A3 reiterates
this guy out of here.
All
Give him the hook.
Should exercise restraint and responsibility, uphold international law, and avoid any action that could escalate tension and threaten regional stability. The A3 stands ready to support all efforts geared toward accountability, including within this council, and in cooperation with regional partners, intend to facilitate a peaceful, inclusive, and lasting resolution in the Islamic Republic of Iran. And we thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I thank the representative of Liberia for the statement.
Oh, live in New York
The
City,
representative of the Russian Federation.
the UN Security Council emergency meeting on Iran.
Mr. President, since the end of December, the whole world
Translator.
has been watching as the United States continues to escalate tensions, fuel hysteria around Iran, declaring that help is
Hit that
already
like
on
button
the
for
way.
me, guys. Let's get this to 200 likes.
What's more, in its official
Sweet.
statements, Washington has not even tried to cover up the genuine reasons for its alleged concern over the country's internal political situation as it threatens new strikes against Iran. Today's meeting, convened by our American colleagues, is nothing
Thanks
more
for
than
being
yet
here.
another attempt to justify blatant aggression and interference in the internal affairs of a sovereign state. And if, as Washington puts it, Iran's authorities do not come to their senses, then Washington will solve the Iranian problem in its favorite way through strikes aimed at overthrowing an undesirable regime.
This
To
is
lend
Russia.
credibility to their actions and to justify them, they have invited today's briefers, individuals who have been living in the United States for some 20 years and promoting an anti-Iranian agenda in Washington's interests. These so-called briefers cannot speak on behalf of the Iranian people. We firmly reject any attempts by the U.S. to waste council members' valuable time on briefings that are meant only to serve the interests and the position of those who convene this meeting, and briefings that are in no way related to issues of international peace and security. What just took place overall was nothing more than a circus, an embarrassment, a cheap show that is unbefitting of members of the council. Mr. President, we have carefully studied the letters circulated in the Security Council in recent days from the Iranian mission. We express our solidarity with the people of Iran and mourn all innocent victims. We see that hostile external forces are attempting to exploit the current situation in order to overthrow a government they find objectionable and destroy the Islamic Republic of Iran as a sovereign and independent state. At the same time, we note that the authorities in Tehran have declared and reaffirmed their commitment to their international obligations, including respect for human rights and ensuring conditions for the peaceful expression of public opinion, while at the same time fulfilling their inherent duty to protect citizens' lives, public order, and the country's territorial integrity. As far as we can tell, the protest momentum has begun to subside and the situation is gradually normalizing. The government of Iran has taken the necessary steps to stabilize the economic situation and has established a constructive dialogue with the public in order to address any emerging issues. Mass rallies have taken place in the Islamic Republic of Iran in support of the country's supreme leader and its independent course. The Russian Federation is convinced that today's meeting of the Council should be approached through the lens of its mandate to maintain international peace and security and uphold international law, and not through the lens of Iran's internal political affairs. Violations of the aforementioned norms and principles in the current situation are obvious. They include the extremely dangerous and irresponsible rhetoric employed in recent days by U.S. leadership, which has gone as far as openly calling for the takeover of state institutions in Iran and threats to assist the protesters. Such statements amount to nothing other than incitements to violently overthrow the constitutional order of a sovereign state. They are a gross violation of paragraphs 4 and 7 of Article 2 of the UN Charter, which prohibit the threat or use of force and establish the principle of non-interference in the domestic affairs of states.
Mr.
Mr. President, what is happening on the streets of Iran in recent days has gone far beyond peaceful protest. There have been documented cases of firearms use, killings of law enforcement officers as well as civilians, arson attacks on medical facilities and public institutions, as well as attacks on emergency service facilities. These actions cannot be covered up by the pretext of freedom of expression or protecting human rights. What is happening in Iran is yet another example of the use of tried and tested methods for a color revolution in which specially trained armed provocateurs transform peaceful protests into senseless violence, riots, destruction of public property, and brutal killings of police officers, state security personnel, and peaceful protesters, including children. As we have already seen repeatedly in a number of states, all these actions are either directed or supported by external forces that are interested in a so-called regime change. In the present situation, these external forces are not even bothering to conceal their involvement in violent actions, especially given that the President of the United States has openly called on protesters to take over Iranian state institutions. The U.S. and its cheerleaders are actively exploiting the economic and social difficulties faced by ordinary Iranians, difficulties caused by unlawful sanctions pressure imposed on Iran by Western states.
Hit that like button,
They're
guys.
using this to inflame public tensions and destabilize the domestic political situation. The current situation is clearly in line with Washington's declared policy, one supported by its allies, of maximum pressure on Tehran in order to advance their own political interests in the Middle East. They are using every means available to achieve this. And this includes not only unlawful unilateral sanctions imposed in circumvention of the Security Council and in blatant violation of the UN Charter, but also unceremonious blackmail of other states by increases in trade tariffs. Our Western colleagues are not above using the Security Council as a tool to promote their delusional agenda. A striking example of this is the attempt by the UK, France, and Germany to create the illusion of reinstating anti-Iranian Security Council resolutions through the purported triggering of the snapback
This guy's a real crowd pleaser.
envisioned in Resolution 2231 of the Security Council. Their justification for this relied on Western states' fabrications about some sort of threat to international peace and security posed by Iran's peaceful nuclear program.
Live from the UN Security
And this is
Council
despite the
meeting,
fact
emergency
that
meeting,
the IAEA Director General
New York City.
has never reached such conclusions in his reports on the matter, nor found evidence of diversion of nuclear material to military purposes. And the
That's right, guys. Hit that like
crisis
button.
surrounding
Over
the-
200 likes. Thank you.
surrounding the implementation of the JCPOA was provoked by Washington's unilateral withdrawal from the nuclear deal in 2018. Nevertheless, the EU3 continues to promote its baseless narrative and deepen divisions within the Security Council. What is most concerning is Washington's aggressive course towards the use of military force and threats of its use against Iran. We condemn such actions, no matter what arguments are used to justify them, as a gross violation of
I thought the
international
Liberian
law
guy was
and
taking too long.
human
I mean, come on.
We strongly urge the hotheads in Washington and other capitals who seem to be contemplating a repeat military venture to come to their senses and avoid a repetition of the tragedy of June 2025, when U.S.-Israeli aggression nearly resulted
Live from the UN Security Council.
with inevitable
Hey, everybody, welcome.
and environmental consequences. We
A little
demand
energy in
the
there.
United States and its like-minded partners refrain from further reckless steps, including those involving nuclear facilities. They should rather focus on providing solid assurances against further confrontation and resume joint efforts to find potential solutions. This includes addressing
Legal.
unfounded concerns regarding Iran's peaceful nuclear program. All of this should be done on the basis of international law and seeking a balance of all stakeholders' interests. Our country stands ready to assist this in every possible way. Mr. President, the Russian Federation decisively condemns
Oh my
all
God.
forms of external interference, incitement to violence, and threats of use of force against the friendly nation of Iran. We call on the conveners of today's meeting to stop making themselves out to be a global judge and put an end to their escalatory actions.
Thank you.
Actions risk plunging the region into even bloodier chaos that could easily spill beyond its borders. And a separate appeal to our colleagues on the Council and all UN member states. We call on them to prevent a new large-scale escalation and ensure that the Security Council is not used to justify unlawful regime change scenarios or to name and shame the legitimate authorities of a sovereign state. Thank you.
Maron.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Greece.
Everybody come back from your nap now.
President,
Greece is up.
I would like to thank Assistant Secretary General
Brigata Presidente
for Africa,
Paladas.
Ms. Martha Batebi, for her briefing, as well as Ms. Alinejad and Mr. Batebi for their testimonies today. Mr. President, Greece is following developments in Iran with deep concern. The continued escalation of violence and the use of force against protesters, the
No
loss
soup
of
for
human
you.
life, among them children, and the widespread arrest are utterly condemnable. Fundamental
bread?
rights, including the inherent right to life, the freedom of expression, and the freedom of assembly,
Like and
are
subscribe, guys.
universal
Like and
rights
subscribe.
that
Greece
must be fully
is the
respected
word.
by all without discrimination or exception. Any form of violent repression is unacceptable, and this all the more true when it results in the loss of life. Violence of this kind must be absolutely condemned. The use of force against individuals exercising fundamental rights can never be justified and must always be unequivocally rejected. The death penalty imposed merely as a result of them exercising a fundamental right constitutes an affront to justice. Such unjust actions gravely undermine respect for human dignity and fundamental rights. It is very important that no sentences be carried out against those demonstrating in favor of freedom.
I agree with that.
Mr. President, colleagues, at the same time, Greece recalls that full respect for international law and for the Charter of the United Nations remains paramount. Current developments on the ground, no matter how dire, should not lead to a further escalation. No matter how difficult, dialogue remains the only viable path forward for the rights and the prosperity of the Iranian people. Greece firmly believes that this is the only way to address
says hit the like button.
legitimate social grievances, prevent further violence, and avert the risk of a wider regional conflagration.
Why
In
do you
closing,
have long
Mr.
ears?
President,
Okay.
Greece reiterates
I can
its
listen to you
belief
better,
in the
girl.
need of de-escalation, dialogue, and the peaceful resolution of the current crisis, in full conformity with the Charter of the United Nations and international law. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Greece for the statement. I give
The logo of the show.
representative of Hungary.
Thank you.
Gracias, presidente.
Thank you.
Branding.
Expresamos nuestro
We
agradecimiento
wish
Who's up?
to
a la
thank
subsecretaria general adjunta
the
para África
ASG for
del
Africa
Departamento de Asuntos
from the
Políticos
Department of
y de
Political and Peace
Consolidación de
Building
la Paz
Affairs
Brother,
and Peace
African
Operations,
country.
Ms.
por su
Martha
detallada
Pobe,
presentación.
for her detailed
Y al señor Ahmad
presentation.
Batevi
We
y
also
la
thank
señora
Mr.
Masi
Ahmad
Where
Batevi and Ms.
pretty much
Masi
every
Alinejad
visa
for
has
their
been cut off
briefings.
by
De
the
igual
State
manera,
Department.
reconocemos al
Moreover, we
representante de la
recognize the
República
representative of the
Islámica
Oh, Panama.
Islamic
Yeah, them
Republic
too, I
of
think.
Iran and their
La
delegation.
República de Panamá
The Republic of
Panama
Panama
expresa su
expresses
profunda
its grave
preocupación
concern
ante los
at the
acontecimientos de
events that
protestas
are and
populares
the people's
que se vienen
protests that
desarrollando en la
have been
República
unfolding
Islámica
in the
de
Islamic
Irán,
Republic of Iran.
en los cuales
These
se
events
evidencia
lay bare the widespread
The land of
protest
Noriega.
of the civilian population.
Originalmente, las protestas se manifestaron en forma pacífica,
Protests were originally
aunque
peaceful,
eventualmente
despite the
han
fact
sido
that
reprimidos con violencia.
ultimately they were repressed
Dichos
with
hechos
violence.
han sido
These
objeto de una
events
respuesta
have been met with a
desproporcionada
disproportionate
por parte de
response
las
from
Panama.
the Iranian
que
authorities.
tienden a
The
amedrentar
authorities
la
are
expresión de la
looking
ciudadanía.
at stifling citizens' freedom
Debido
of
a
expression
cortes en los sistemas de comunicación
due
en el
to
país.
cuts to
Resulta
communication
difícil
blackouts across the
verificar
country. It
objetivamente
is
los
difficult
hechos,
to objectively
por lo
verify
que
the
se tiene
facts.
poco
As such,
conocimiento
there
veraz
is little
sobre
accurate
la
information
realidad
available
actual,
regarding the
y no
current
se puede
state of
confirmar
affairs.
la
We cannot
información que
confirm
circula.
Got
the
his hair.
information that is
Sin embargo,
circulating.
Waff.
However,
gracias al trabajo de
thanks to
diversos
the
medios
Look
de
at
work of
comunicación
several
independientes,
independent media
de
outlets,
That's got
organizaciones
style.
that
no
of non-governmental
gubernamentales y de
organizations and
valientes
that of brave
iraníes,
Iranians,
han salido a la luz cifras
concerning
preocupantes.
figures have emerged.
Según estos
According
informes,
to these reports,
hasta este momento,
to date,
el número de
the
víctimas
number
fatales
of
podría
fatalities
ascender a
could
2,000 o más
stand
personas,
at 2,000
y un
or
número
more.
That's an interesting
And a
fact, Sule. Thank you.
considerable number
han
of
sido
people have
heridas
been
o
wounded
detenidas.
or detained.
Noriega.
Against this backdrop,
Surge preocupación
concerns
legítima
begin to
por la
arise, legitimate
posibilidad de que el
concerns indeed,
gobierno
at the
adelante
I do. I
possibility
remember
that the
that.
government may
y
use summary
ejecuciones
trials and
Panama.
executions
durante las protestas a
against
nivel
those
nacional.
detained during national
En ese
protests.
sentido,
With this in mind,
Panamá rechaza
Panama rejects
cualquier
any
tipo de
type of
ejecución
execution
en la que no se hayan ofrecido al
where the
acusado
accused has
las
not
garantías de
been
defensa
offered the
y el
right to
debido
defense
proceso
and due process
conforme
in
al derecho
accordance with
internacional.
Hyman
international
Roth.
law.
Dichas garantías
These
nunca
guarantees
deben aplicarse de manera
can
selectiva
never
ni
be
con doble
selectively
rasero.
applied, nor can they be
Numerosas
applied
personas
with double
detenidas
standards.
podrían
Many
enfrentar este
detainees
destino
could meet
en
such a
flagrante
fate, this
violación
in
de
flagrant
todas las
violation of
garantías
all
procesales
Yeah,
due
we can't be
process
dispatching
and of
protesters
fundamental
in
rights
in another country
protected by
and just stand by and let that
international law
happen.
and enshrined in the UN
That's just my
Charter.
opinion.
President,
Los derechos a la libertad de expresión,
rights to the freedom of
de
expression,
asociación y de
association,
reunión
and
pacífica,
peaceful assembly,
consagrados en
as
And by the way,
enshrined
the
in
president
international
of
law,
the
deben
Security
ser
Council, it's
must
only for a
be
month,
fully
so they rotate.
respected and
por
protected
todos los estados.
by all states.
Las manifestaciones
Recent
recientes son
protests are
consecuencias
Live
the
from New York
consequence
City,
of
de un
the
régimen
wearing
agotado
down of a
económica
regime
y
UN
that is
Security Council
economically and socially
emergency meeting.
exhausted.
del
They are
propio
also the
régimen
consequence of
que
the
han
actions of the
deteriorado de
regime
manera
This is the
itself.
representative from Panama.
These actions have
cotidiana de la
gradually
población
worsened
y
the
que han
day-to-day
afectado de
lives
manera
of Iranians
particular
and
a
have
las mujeres y
specifically
niñas
affected
iraníes,
Iranian women
impidiendo
and
su
children.
educación,
The
su
regime has
participación en la
prevented
vida
their
pública
education,
y su
their
autonomía.
participation in public life, and their
Episodios
autonomy.
en años recientes
Episodes in recent
ya
years
han
have already
evidenciado la
laid
necesidad de
bare the fact
garantizar
that there is a
el
need
legítimo
to
derecho de las mujeres
guarantee
a ejercer sus
women's
derechos
legitimate right to
fundamentales
exercise
de
their
manera segura
fundamental
y
rights
digna.
in a safe and
Sin
dignified
embargo,
fashion. However,
asimismo,
we
resulta
must
oportuno
it
reconocer
is indeed timely to
aislamiento
recognize that the
económico
economic
impuesto por parte de la
isolation
comunidad
imposed by the
internacional
international community
también puede
has
haber contribuido
may have
en alguna
also
medida
contributed to a
al
certain
deterioro del
extent to the
tejido
fraying
social
of Iran's
en Irán,
social fabric,
afectando
and that
directamente a
has
la
directly
población
affected
civil
the
y
civilian
exacerbando
population
las
and
tensiones internas.
exacerbated internal
Por ello,
tensions.
hacemos un
Consequently,
llamado
we
a
appeal
todos los
to
actores
all actors
a brindar su apoyo de
to
manera constructiva,
constructively
así como a
provide
evitar
support.
imponer
All must
presiones
also avoid
adicionales
imposing
que
additional
puedan
pressures
Thank you for
which
hitting that
may
like button,
further
guys.
worsen the situation.
Es fundamental
It is of
que la
the
comunidad
utmost importance
If you're just
that
checking in, the
international
UN Security
community
Council
act
emergency
with a
meeting,
sense of great
the
responsibility
representative
and that it
from
exercises
Panama is
caution.
giving his
generar
briefing
efectos
Must endeavor
adversos
not
right
to
here.
create
consecuencias
adverse effects
impredecibles
through their actions,
que
which
afecten
could
aún
have
más
So welcome.
a la ya
unpredictable
sacrificada población
consequences
iraní
and
Let me know where you're
further
viewing
burden
from in the
the
chat.
already
a
Like to see where you're
escalar
from,
heavily
y'all.
tested Iranian
para
population or
evitar
serve to
que
escalate
And hit that
remedios
like
que se
button.
receten resulten
This
peor que la
will
enfermedad.
see us
Por
ensure
otro
that
lado,
the
instamos
cure
a las
administered
autoridades
is not
iraníes
worse than the
que
original
pongan fin
illness.
de
We urge
inmediato
the
y
Iranian
que eviten
authorities to
toda
immediately
acción
put an end
violenta
to and
o
avoid
desproporcionada
all violent
contra
or
la población
disproportionate
civil
actions against
y
the
que
civilian
faciliten de
population.
manera urgente
The
un
Iranian
espacio
authorities must
constructivo
urgently
para el
facilitate a
diálogo
constructive
pacífico.
forum for
Del
peaceful
mismo
dialogue.
modo,
Moreover,
alentamos
we
medidas que garanticen el
encourage
acceso a la
measures which
información y la
guarantee access to
comunicación,
information and
incluyendo la
communications,
restauración de
including the
servicios
restoration
que
of
hayan sido
services that have
interrumpidos,
been
pues la
interrupted. This is because transparency is a fundamental prerequisite to generate trust and to prevent a further escalation of tensions. It is vital that human rights be respected. Citizens' safety and security must be guaranteed, and the legitimate demands of society must be heeded if we are to restore stability in the country. Thank
There
you.
we go. That was the briefing
I thank the
from
representative of Panama. for
Panama.
the statement.
Thank you.
I give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Oh, Pakistan's up.
President, I thank Assistant Secretary General Martha Poby
Really?
for her briefing on behalf of the Secretariat. Let me also note the importance of objectivity and competence as regards the briefing.
This has been a
by
great
civil
meeting so
society
far. Very exciting, learning a lot.
informed discussion. And needless to
Glad you're here with me.
emphasize here the respect for decorum of this council. President, we have been carefully observing developments in Iran and the region in recent days. New threats to regional peace and stability
we've
are
seen the
emerging at a
videos.
time of heightened tensions and does remain a serious cause of concern. Iran is an immediate neighbor of Pakistan and a brotherly country. The people of our two nations share deep-rooted historical, friendly, cultural, and religious bonds. We hope for an early normalization of the situation in Iran and
That's a
express
wild
support for all diplomatic efforts aimed at regional peace and stability. A stable and peaceful Iran is in the interests of Pakistan, the region, and beyond. We have full confidence in the wisdom of the Iranian people and leadership rooted in their rich culture, ancient civilization, history, and resilience to address all challenges. President, the fundamental principles and objectives of the United Nations Charter are inviolable and sacrosanct. The UN Charter prohibits threat or use of force against other states' territorial integrity or independence, or to interfere in matters essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of states. Any external interference in the domestic affairs of states is inconsistent with international law and principles of the UN Charter. We strongly believe that all disputes must be resolved through peaceful means and in accordance with international law. Continued hostilities, use of force, and unilateral actions will only take us further away from the resolution of core issues and cause unnecessary humanitarian suffering. The threat or use of force would only aggravate the situation and undermine regional and international peace and stability. All parties must exercise restraint, act responsibly, strictly stay within the bounds of international law, and eschew any action that will be detrimental to regional and international peace and security.
Okay.
Diplomacy and dialogue should be the guiding principles for achieving negotiated settlement of all contentious issues in accordance with the rights, obligations, and responsibilities of the parties concerned. Pakistan has consistently advocated the primacy of diplomatic engagement and the imperative of avoiding confrontation and conflict in a region already beset by tensions and volatility. We sincerely hope that the situation in Iran will soon return to calm and normalcy, free from any internal turmoil or external pressure, and all relevant parties will return to the negotiating table to find a lasting solution to their differences based on mutual respect and understanding. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of China.
President, I thank ASG Poby for her briefing and welcome the participation of the representative of Iran at today's meeting. China and Russia have made their position clear to all council members regarding the United States invitation of the relevant briefers. Recent developments in Iran have drawn widespread attention. China has taken note of the description thereof provided by the Iranian Foreign Minister in his letter to the UN Secretary General. For some time now, the United States has continued to make
China
on the situation in Iran and has openly issued threats of the use of force against Iran. As a result, clouds of war are gathering over the Middle East and the tensions in the region continue to escalate. China has always advocated adherence to the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and international law. We oppose the use or threat of force in international relations, oppose imposing one's will upon other countries, and oppose any regression of the world to the law of the jungle. Sovereign equality and non-interference in internal affairs
Did you say law of the jungle?
Principles of international law and the most fundamental norms governing modern international relations. Iran is an independent sovereign state. Iran's affairs should be decided independently by the Iranian people. China supports safeguarding Iran's sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity, and calls on the international community to support the Iranian government and people in overcoming current difficulties and in maintaining national security and social stability. The use of force can never solve problems. It will only make them more complex and
What is China trying to say?
Any military adventurism would only push the region toward an unpredictable abyss. We urge the United States to abide by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, abandon its fixation on the use of force, and call on all parties
Liberia
to
was like,
exercise
motherfucker, what?
restraint and work together to play their due
Just
role
say.
in maintaining international peace and security. At present, the Middle East remains the most fragile region in the global security landscape, with the risks of turmoil and conflict persistently high. The people of the region have a strong desire for peace and development. China has noted the grave concerns expressed by the vast majority of regional countries regarding military confrontation, as well as their sincere expectation for resolving disputes peacefully through dialogue. China hopes that the United States and other relevant parties will take seriously the voices of the international community and regional countries and do more for peace and stability in the Middle East, rather than the opposite. All countries should play a constructive role in promoting peace and ending conflicts, avoid exacerbating tensions, and refrain from adding fuel to the fire. President, peace and development are the shared aspirations of all peoples. History has repeatedly proven that an obsession with force, relentless pressure, and wanton interference only generate more conflict and hatred. No country has the power to dictate the future of another, and no action that defies international law should be tolerated.
Serious.
We call on the international community to stand on the right side of history and on the side of fairness and justice, and work tirelessly for peace and stability in the Middle East and peace and tranquility in the world. Thank you, President.
Well, he was
I thank the
very
representative
professional.
of China for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Bahrain.
What?
Thank you, President. The Kingdom of Bahrain is closely following developments in the Islamic Republic of Iran. We are following these developments closely and calmly. We call on the Iranian authorities to exercise restraint and to avert any escalation that can lead to losses in lives or destruction. This will have negative repercussions for security and stability in the region. We mourn and express our condolences to the families of those affected by these incidents and developments. In light of these developments, the Kingdom of Bahrain reiterates that the primary responsibility for promoting and protecting human rights lies and rests with the state in accordance with its international law obligations, including the treaties and international norms and standards that are relevant. In addition, the Kingdom of Bahrain reiterates that it's important to preserve the higher interests interest of the Iranian people. Their expectations, their aspirations must be met in order to achieve security and stability in the region. In conclusion, Mr. President, we remain committed to promoting peace and stability regionally and internationally. At the same time, we reiterate that we must refrain from any action that could have broader regional implications. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Bahrain for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Okay.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Assistant Secretary General Pobi, Masih Alinejad, and Ahmad Batebi. We welcome this timely meeting. The United Kingdom is appalled by the reports that potentially thousands of people in Iran have been killed and many more arrested in the most brutal repression of public protests in decades. Despite the regime's near-total internet shutdown, videos emerging from Iran indicate that reports may underestimate the full scale of horror currently underway. The regime will claim that these protests were instigated by foreign-backed forces.
Yeah, the translators are
But
not
lies
necessary
and
here
propaganda
for
cannot
us.
justify its actions. This behavior is not an aberration for this regime. It is the latest manifestation of the repression and brutality we have witnessed time and time again. Let me be clear. We condemn the regime's actions in the strongest possible terms. We pay tribute to the courage of the Iranian people, particularly Iranian women. Once again, they are bravely voicing their aspirations to live in freedom and dignity in the face of repression and violence. As my Prime Minister stated, alongside his French and German counterparts, we urge Iran to respect the fundamental rights and freedoms of its people, including the right to protest without fear of violence or repression.
Get the Iranian guy up. Get him up there. I want to hear from him.
Authorities must protect their people, not brutalize them. Iran must urgently change course. We have delivered this message directly to Foreign Minister Aragchi. As the G7 has made clear, we will act alongside our partners to impose additional restrictive measures if it does not. As my Foreign Secretary has said, the world is watching. The United Kingdom will continue to confront the regime's misinformation, call out its repression, and support regional peace and security. Thank you.
He was brief.
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Denmark.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you to the Somali presidency for acting swiftly to convene this meeting. The gravity of the situation in Iran warrants this timely discussion. I'd also like to thank Assistant Secretary General Pobi for her briefing and the civil society briefers, Mrs. Alinejad and Mr. Batebi, for sharing their insights and personal experiences. Mr. President, once again, the Iranian people have taken to the streets to bravely voice their demands for a better life, a life in freedom, dignity, and prosperity. And once again, they have been met with sheer brutality and ferocious violence. We're deeply concerned by the reports of several thousand protesters killed by the Iranian security forces. And as we've heard,
Well, they don't call it
Secretary
Libabees.
General Pobi, more than 18,000 arrested. Iran's brutal crackdown on the protesters is unacceptable. We strongly condemn these killings, as well as the use of violence, arbitrary detention, and intimidation tactics by the security forces against the protesters. These actions must stop. All Iranians must be able to express their grievances peacefully and without fear. We urge the Iranian authorities to exercise maximum restraint from unnecessary and disproportionate use of force. We stand in full solidarity with the Iranian people while they exercise their rights to freedom of expression, association, and peaceful assembly. We call on Iran to comply with its obligations under international human rights law and to ensure unhindered access to information and communication, including access to the internet for all Iranians. Mr. President, loud and clear, again and again, We hear the Iranians lift their voices for a better life, for their lives, for their rights to be respected. For too long, the leaders in Tehran have not heeded this call. The time has now come for the government of Iran to finally listen, to respond to the will of its people through peaceful means. We urge them to start today. I thank you.
I thank the representative.
Very
for
nice
the
statement.
Statement. I give the floor to the representative of Colombia.
Thank you, Mr. President, for convening this briefing. I wish to convey my gratitude to Assistant Secretary General for Africa. I also
She'll
thank
get you with a
the
chancla.
for their statements. Mr. President, Colombia reaffirms, as it has done historically within this organization, and as it has also done since its very first day as an elected member on this council, we reaffirm that our position will always be guided by international law and the principles enshrined in the United Nations Charter, as well as by a commitment to peace, the peaceful resolution of disputes, the respect for sovereignty and the non-interference in internal affairs of states, as well as by the need for the respect for human rights which are applicable in all contexts without exception, the freedom of expression, peaceful assembly and association are universal rights. They are enshrined in international human rights law, and that law must apply without exception. It cannot be watered down or relativized. These freedoms must be guaranteed throughout the world. No differentiated treatment can be applied, and the above is a vital prerequisite for legitimacy, peace, and democracy. The systematic nature of repression, criminalization, and censorship as a response to the free exercise of the right to protest are unjustifiable in any circumstance. Moreover, they constitute grave violations of human rights, and they weaken the very foundations of the rule of law. Against that backdrop, we are gravely concerned by the events which are unfolding in Iran, including the use of the death penalty and other forms of repression as a response to peaceful demonstrations. We are also alarmed by the use of expedited legal proceedings, which do not guarantee due process. This is in flagrant contradiction with international obligations. Moreover, we are
Thank you very much.
concerned by
Another 10
censorship
gifted
and
memberships,
restrictions
86
on
GOP. Thank
information.
you so much.
Consequently, in our
Much
view,
appreciated.
the safe access of international press and the restoration of the
We are
internet
live
must be guaranteed immediately.
in Los Angeles. This is live in New York
The
City.
situation of women in Iran continues to be a source of alarm. We are
UN
particularly
Emergency
concerned by
Security Council
the
meeting. Thank you for joining me. Hit that like button.
repression against
Thanks
protests
again.
may have on women. Moreover,
We are
women
peace.
have played a pivotal role and indeed a leading role in these protests. We fervently appeal to all member states to respect, protect, guarantee and enforce human rights for all people. We underscore the need to guarantee accountability in all cases. This in order to prevent impunity and to guarantee access to justice and reparation for victims. Mr. President, it is of paramount importance to mitigate tensions and to avoid actions which may fan the flames of confrontation. Moreover, my country emphasizes the need for restraint. Any rhetoric or action which aims to escalate the situation, including the threat of the unilateral use of force, brings with it grave risk for stability, to the stability in a region already marked by a high degree of volatility. Such actions could also imperil international peace and security. To conclude,
Not
my
yet.
country
Iran has
insists
not
that
come up.
It is only
Not yet.
inclusive dialogue, a dialogue which involves all strata
He's
of
the closer
Iranian
today.
society, that can offer a sustainable solution. Lasting solutions cannot be imposed through force.
Hit that like button for me, guys. Let's get this video out there more.
Participatory and nationally led processes. In view of the grave nature of the situation, it is incumbent upon this Council to keep their eyes trained on events and to guarantee the protection of civilians, the full respect of human rights and fundamental freedoms, and accountability for violations perpetrated. Thank you.
Oof. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Colombia for the statement. I give the floor to the representative of Latvia.
Thank you, President. Let me thank Assistant Secretary General Pobe for today's briefing. And I would like to thank Ms. Alinejad and Mr. Batebi for sharing their very personal and courageous testimonies.
Yeah, that was pretty heavy.
The Islamic Republic of Iran has once again launched a war against its own people. It is killing innocent Iranians. As we sit here today, hundreds of thousands of brave Iranians, exhausted by repression and economic deprivation, are standing for their freedom. On the streets across the country, they demand basic rights and human dignity. And these demands are met with brutality, violence, and censorship by the regime. The failing Iranian regime is trying to hide its crimes behind the total telecom and internet blackout, but it is not possible to hide the truth. Iran's state forces are killing protesters by the thousands. They are arresting and torturing Iranians to suppress and intimidate their own citizens. Latvia stands in solidarity with the people of Iran, claiming their legitimate rights to live their lives and decide their future freely. And we demand the Iranian authorities to immediately stop the killings, and all detained protesters must be released. All unjustifiable court sentences and threats of execution must be ceased. For decades, the Iranian regime has been playing a destabilizing role across the Middle East and beyond. It continues to pursue its illegal nuclear program. It has persistently avoided re-establishing credible, verifiable cooperation with the IAEA.
The
regime has supported, financed, and armed various proxy forces and terrorist groups, including Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis. This has gravely undermined regional security and prosperity. The continued material support of the Iranian regime to Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine is despicable. Iranian weapons and technology are used to destroy also Ukrainian cities and commit atrocities against the Ukrainian people. Because Iran has chosen to supply and support the aggressors, while its own people have been driven to despair. Mr. President, for far too long, the Iranian regime has posed an unacceptable threat to global peace and security, and we condemn in the strongest possible terms the brutal actions of the regime.
Everybody jumping in, we are live.
Iranian people, and I thank you.
UN Security Council emergency meeting regarding the regime in Iran.
I now give the floor to the representative of France.
And here comes France.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Come in. Come in.
Madam Assistant Secretary General Martha
Live
Kofi,
breaking news.
as well as Ms. Nasih Alinejad and Mr. Ahmad Batebi for their briefings. We meet today to discuss the situation in Iran, and the briefings we have just heard have portrayed the extreme gravity of what is happening right before our eyes. Since December 28th, unthinkable state violence has been unleashed against protesters who have mobilized across Iran in order to peacefully express their legitimate aspirations for dignity, freedom, respect for their fundamental rights. The innocent victims of this repression now number in the thousands. Back in 2009, in 2019, and in 2022, the Iranian authorities had already violently suppressed peaceful movements of the Iranian population, movements calling for dignity and rights.
I see. Thank you.
We remember the death of Mahsa Amini in September 2022 at the hands of the Iranian morality police. France condemns the widespread and deliberate use of violence by Iranian security forces. France condemns the arbitrary detention of thousands of protesters.
Elle condamne les coupures d'Internet dans l'ensemble du pays,
the internet shutdowns across the country that are aimed at silencing reports of the brutality of the repression.
La France exprime sa solidarité avec les victimes.
Elle
se tient aux côtés du peuple iranien
alongside
qui manifeste
the people of
pacifiquement
Iran who are
pour
peacefully
ses droits
protesting
et
for
pour sa
their
liberté.
rights and their freedom.
Nous exhortons les autorités iraniennes à se
urge
conformer à
the
leurs
Iranian
obligations
authorities to
internationales
comply with
et à
their
respecter les
international
droits et libertés
obligations
fondamentales
and
du
respect
peuple
the
iranien,
fundamental rights and
en
freedoms of the
particulier la
Iranian
liberté
people,
d'expression,
in particular freedom of
le droit à
expression,
l'information,
the right to
la
information,
liberté de réunion pacifique.
and freedom of peaceful
Le
assembly.
président de la République française, M.
The
Emmanuel
President
Macron,
of the
s'est
French
exprimé en
Republic,
ce sens.
Emmanuel Macron, has
Le
already
ministre
spoken
français
out
des
in this
Affaires
regard. The
étrangères
Minister of
l'a dit
Foreign
sans
Affairs
détour à son homologue iranien.
stated this plainly to
Et
his Iranian
l'ambassadeur d'Iran à
counterpart,
Paris
and
se l'est vu
the Iranian
signifier
ambassador
dans
in
les termes les
Paris
plus
was
clairs
informed of this
lorsqu'il
in
a
the
été
clearest
convoqué il y
possible
a 2
terms
jours
when he was
au
summoned
ministère
to
des
the
Affaires
Ministry
étrangères.
of Foreign Affairs 2 days ago.
Nous réitérons également notre appel
We
à la
also
libération
reiterate our call
immédiate et
for the
inconditionnelle de tous
immediate
les
and
prisonniers
unconditional release
arbitrairement
of
détenus
all
en Iran,
arbitrarily detained
ainsi
prisoners
qu'à
in
la
Iran,
suspension de l'application de la peine de mort.
as well as the suspension of the
Nous demandons
death penalty.
la convocation rapide d'une session
We
extraordinaire du
call
Conseil des droits de l'homme
for a
afin
rapid
d'évoquer la
convening
situation en
of
Iran et de
a
charger
special
les
session
mécanismes
of the
dédiés
Human Rights
d'enquêter
Council to address the
sur les
situation in Iran
violations
and
des
to
droits.
task dedicated mechanisms with investigating human
Monsieur le
rights
Président,
violations.
face à l'ampleur et à la
President,
brutalité de la
given the
répression,
scale and
la
brutality of the
communauté
repression,
internationale
the
et le Conseil de sécurité ne
international
peuvent
community and the Security
détourner le
Council
regard.
cannot look the other
Il
way.
appartient au peuple iranien
It is
et à lui seul
for the Iranian
de
people and
décider
them
de son
alone
destin.
to decide their destiny.
Mais notre
But
responsabilité
our
collective est de
collective
dénoncer les violences
responsibility
et la
is
répression
to denounce
dont
the
il est
violence
victime alors qu'il
and
exprime ses
repressions to which
aspirations
they're being
légitimes.
subjected as they express
Comme
their
l'a rappelé le
legitimate
président de la République,
aspirations. As the
le respect
President
des
of
libertés
the French
fondamentales
Republic recalled,
est une
respect for
exigence
fundamental freedoms
universelle.
is a universal requirement.
La dénégation brutale de cette
The
exigence par
brutal
les autorités
denial of this
iraniennes
requirement by the Iranian
constitue tout
authorities
ensemble une
constitutes
violation des
both a
responsabilités de
violation
l'État à l'égard de
of
sa
the
population
responsibilities of the state
et
towards
un
its
facteur
population
supplémentaire de menace
and
à la paix
additional
et à la
factor
sécurité
threatening
internationale.
regional international
La
peace and
vigilance de ce
security.
Conseil est d'autant plus justifiée que la situation
The
présente un risque
vigilance of this
d'escalade
council is all the more
très préoccupant.
justified given that the situation
Que
carries
l'Iran,
a
nous le
very
savons,
worrying
continue
risk
par
of
ailleurs de mettre en
escalation.
péril la
Iran, as we
sécurité
know,
régionale
continues to endanger
par le
regional
soutien qu'il
security
apporte aux
through
groupes
the
armés non
support it
étatiques
provides
qui lui
to
sont
non-state
affiliés.
armed groups
Et qu'il
affiliated with
continue
it.
de défier le
It
régime
continues to
international de
defy the international
non-prolifération
non-proliferation
en
regime
poursuivant un
by
programme balistique
pursuing
menaçant
a threatening ballistic
ainsi qu'un
missile
programme
program, as
nucléaire
well as a nuclear program
dont les finalités pacifiques
whose
ne
peaceful
peuvent pas
nature
être démontrées
the
par l'Agence
International
internationale
Atomic
de
Energy
l'énergie
Agency has
atomique.
not been able to verify.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. President,
avec ses partenaires européens et du
with
G7,
its European
Mr.
and
President.
G7 partners, France
a
stands
imposé des
ready
mesures
to
restrictives
impose
supplémentaires
additional restrictive
à l'encontre
measures
des individus et
on
entités
individuals and
impliqués
entities
dans la répression
involved
des
in
manifestations
the
en Iran.
repression of protests
La
in
France
Iran.
appelle ce Conseil à ne pas
France
détourner les yeux de ce
calls
qui se passe
on
en
the
Iran.
Council to not turn
Elle
its
appelle
eyes
tous ses
away
membres
from what
à
is happening in
enjoindre les
Iran.
autorités
It calls on
iraniennes
all its members
de
to
répondre aux
urge Iranian
aspirations
authorities
légitimes
to
de leur
respond to the
population
legitimate aspirations
et de
of their
mettre un terme à la
population
violence et à la répression
and put an
sanglante
end to the
exercée contre
violence
les
and bloody
manifestants.
repression directed against the protesters. Thank you very much.
That's not a comfortable chair today.
For the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Islamic Republic of Iran.
Oh, here we go. He's like, let me get this.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Mr. President, let me state from the outset our firm objection to the participation of the so-called representatives of civil society. I must be absolutely clear. Both briefers imposed by the representative of the United States regime under this false label do not represent Iran's civil society. They represent the political agenda of the United States and Israeli regimes. They have lived outside Iran for more than 2 decades and have consistently engaged in incitement to violence and promotion of extremist and terrorist activities, including advocating and facilitating the use of lethal force against law enforcement officers. Their presence here is therefore neither legitimate nor credible, and it fundamentally undermines the integrity of this discussion. It is shameful that the United States regime transferred this esteemed body to a scene for theater and show, for baseless accusation and statement. This is in line with the United States regime in dismantling and disgracing the United Nations system. If you want to look for a case, the killing of innocent lady in Minnesota last week and nationwide crackdown can be brought here with the testimony and with the briefers. And please teach them the meaning of briefing. The briefing is different from the personal statement and accusation. Please do not sell them to the world as representatives of Iran's civil society. Their acts and statements regarding Iran are far from civil, and they have long divorced from Iran's society. They amplify the Israeli-American foreign agenda. They are both on Mossad's payroll in accordance with undeniable evidence. We have taken note of the briefing provided by ASG. Regrettably, her briefing was one-sided and not grounded in factual evidence.
Like and subscribe, guys.
Mr. President, I wish to extend my deepest condolences and sympathy with a heavy and grieving heart to the brave people of my country and to the families of many victims. In recent weeks, Iran has lost numerous innocent civilians and devoted members of its security and law enforcement forces. Many of our young people were brutally murdered in acts of extreme violence resulting from the
he just tried to bring it up.
Committed by ISIS. Many of our police officers sacrificed their lives in the line of duty to protect civilians and preserve public order. I speak today on behalf of a nation in mourning. It is deeply regrettable that the representative of the United States regime who requested this meeting has today resorted to lies, distortion of facts, and deliberate misinformation to conceal his country's direct involvement in steering unrest in Iran to violence.
Okay.
In fact, the United States request for this meeting is shameful to conceal their direct complicity in the crime their mercenaries have committed against our nations from 8 to 10 January. As part of Israel's malicious attempt to drag America into another war of aggression against Iran. Under the hollow pretext of concern for the Iranian people and claims of support for human rights, the United States regime is attempting to portray itself as a friend of the Iranian people, while simultaneously laying the groundwork for political destabilization and military intervention under a so-called humanitarian narrative. These claims are particularly cynical when viewed against the United States regime long and well-documented record of unlawful military interventions, regime change operations, and systematic violations of international law and the Charter of the United Nations. Across the world, these policies have led to mass civilian casualties, the collapse of states, prolonged humanitarian disasters, and the emergence and empowerment of extremist and terrorist groups. This is not a matter of opinion. It is a matter of historical record and fact. The Iranian people, for decades, have experienced the true meaning of the so-called support. The United States pattern of
This is the representative of Iran giving his briefing to the UN Emergency Security Council meeting in New York City.
The orchestration of the
I am live from Los Angeles, guys. Hit that like button.
Democratically elected government of Dr. Mossadegh to its extensive political, military, and intelligence backing of Saddam's regime war of aggression against Iran. From the downing of Iran Air Flight 655 in 1988, killing 290 innocent civilians, to its complicity in assassinations, sabotage, and attacks against Iranian civilian and infrastructure.
Wow.
Including the war of aggression carried out in June 2025, and from decades of unlawful unilateral sanctions to systematic economic coercion. These measures have gravely violated the Iranian people's fundamental rights, including their inherent rights of life, health, and development. Unfortunately, several Western members of this Council, including France and United Kingdom regimes, have once again adopted their familiar double standards, while claiming to champion human rights and to support the Iranian people.
I know, right?
Alongside the United States regime.
It seems like he's blaming everybody else.
Some of the most unlawful sanctions in modern history. Sanctions that have inflicted widespread suffering on civilians. At the same time, they have failed to condemn, let alone sanction, the Israeli line. They have failed to condemn, let alone sanction, the Israeli regime for its acts of genocide and crimes against humanity. Mr. President, between 8 and 10 January 26, the people and government of the Islamic Republic of Iran were confronted with ISIS-style acts of terrorism and extreme violence across the country. Peaceful protests that began on 28 December 2025 with legitimate economic demands were deliberately hijacked by organized armed groups and transformed into violent riots. Documented cases include beheading, people being burned alive, police officers and ordinary citizens beaten to death, widespread use of firearms, and the deliberate torching of ambulances, fire engines, health facilities, residential buildings, and places of worship. These were not isolated incidents. They reflect a clear and systematic pattern of organized violence. A significant number of police officers were killed or severely injured. These heavy casualties demonstrate the extreme brutality of terrorist elements. The situation is, in fact, very simple. The United States regime and its accomplices, particularly the Israeli regime, cannot evade responsibility for the innocent blood that has been shed in my country. Unable to achieve their objectives through the 12-day war of aggression against Iran in June 2025, they have now seek to pursue the same goals through political destabilization, internal unrest, and chaos. This strategy relies on manufacturing casualties, spreading false and inflated figures, and creating a pretext for foreign intervention. It is a familiar script, one that has been used repeatedly from Iraq to Libya and to Venezuela.
And Panama.
Mr. President, allow me to recall only a few of interventionist and reckless statements made by U.S. officials, which clearly demonstrates Washington's direct involvement in this unrest. On 29 December 2025, during a joint press conference with the Prime Minister of Israel regime, the President of the United States regime declared, if Iran continues with its missile program, yes, I support a strike. If they continue with their nuclear program, the strike should be immediate.
Nuclear program.
He further threatened, we are going to have to knock them down. We'll knock them down. We'll knock the hell out of them. On 2nd January, former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo openly acknowledged the presence of Mossad agents among the rioters. I quote the same wording he used in his message in X. Happy New Year to every Iranian in the street, also to every Mossad agent beside them. End of the quote. On 3rd January 2026, the President of the United States regime stated, we are locked and loaded and ready to go. On 10 January 2026, Senator Lindsey Graham publicly incited violence action, stating,
yeah, I was thinking that too.
When President Trump says, make Iran great again, it means protesters in Iran should defeat the Ayatollah. On 12 January, the White House spokesperson confirmed that President Trump would not be hesitant to use military force against Iran. On the same day, Senator Graham declared, I quote, Iran's leadership must be destroyed.
And
this
time.
is the best opportunity since 1779 to change the Middle East. On 13 January, the U.S. President stated, and I quote, Iranian patriots, keep protesting. Take over your institutions. Help is on its way. And the statement of the representative of the United States regime today will be added to this list. These are not isolated remarks. They constitute explicit calls for regime change, violence, and military aggression. Mr. President, the exploitation of peaceful protest for geopolitical purposes and reckless endangerment of civilian lives fully aligned with the destructive role and unlawful unilateral sanctions have played in creating this situation. Claims of concern for human rights ring hollow when made by those who systematically violated them. 3 days ago, millions of Iranians marched to restore calm in our cities, to support law and order, and to reject reckless attempts to push our country towards civilian conflicts. President Trump chose to ignore this historic display of unity and restraint. Instead, he issued a provocative statement aimed at reinvigorating unrest
Question that I can
for
answer.
people of Iran.
Side in what?
Ignored his invitation for further.
I side in what? And does it matter? I'm the host.
And this is why calm has been reestablished across the country. Mr. President, any threat to use of force against the Islamic Republic of Iran under any pretext, including claims of protecting protesters or supporting the Iranian people, constitute a grave and manifest violation of international law and the UN Charter. Such unlawful actions directly breach Article 2.4, which prohibits the threat or use of force, and Article 2.7, which enshrines the principle of non-intervention. No rule of doctrine, narrative, or political justification can legitimize unilateral military action or coercion without explicit Security Council authorization under Chapter 7. Invoking humanitarian rhetoric to justify force in a deliberate abuse of international law. The Security Council, its members, and the Secretary General bear a clear legal, moral, and political responsibility to unequivocally reject and condemn such unlawful actions before it is too late. The credibility of the United Nations and the survival of the Charter itself now depend on whether this fundamental prohibition is upheld or eroded.
I see everyone's point of view, especially looking at these kind of stories when they're so polarizing and divisive. I certainly like to understand both sides so that I can present it better, because that's what I do here. So, I try not to.
Mr. President, Iran seeks neither escalation
go either
nor
way too far, if you know what I mean.
However, any act of aggression,
direct middle ground,
indirect, will be met with a decisive.
It helps me understand it better.
And lawful response under Article 51 of the Charter. This is not a threat. It is a statement of legal reality. Responsibility for all consequences will rest solely with those who initiate such unlawful acts. Mr. President, the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran remains fully committed to its human rights obligations, including the right to peaceful protest. It has exercised maximum restraint while fulfilling its duty to protect its people and preserve public order. However, the incitement to violence, encouragement of internal destabilization, and explicit threat of military action against a sovereign member states constitute a threat to international peace and security within the meaning of Article 39 of the Charter. In conclusion, Mr. President, we categorically reject our politically motivated accusations.
We got some of the Minnesota protests on deck.
The facts on the ground.
So stay with me. We still got a lot of show to go after this.
Presented by the United States regime and its allies at this meeting.
Like and subscribe, like and subscribe.
U.S. fabrications of the senseless killing of protesters neither reflects reality on the ground, nor would it whitewash Americans' crimes against the great people of Iran.
Oh boy.
The allegation that the government of the Islamic of Iran has killed peaceful protesters is quite distortion of the facts on the ground. What the Iranian security forces did confront firmly and responsibly were armed ISIS-style terrorist cells and violent separatist groups funded and armed by a few foreign entities, including the Israeli regime. These groups deliberately targeted civilians and law enforcement officers in an attempt to ignite civil war and create the conditions for foreign intervention. The claim that internet restrictions were imposed to conceal harm to our own people is equally false.
Oh, really?
On the contrary, temporary limitations were necessary to protect the Iranian nation from evil operations that foreign agents, including Israeli one, are conducting against the safety of the nation.
So that's why they shut off the internet.
Absolutely vital to prevent huge cyber attacks against Iran and its infrastructure, and to disrupt communications among terrorist networks, coordinating terror operations from within our cities. I thank you, Mr. President.
Oof.
I thank the representative of the Islamic Republic of Iran for the statement. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.
All right, good. So that's it. The meeting is adjourned. That was the city council meeting. We're going to jump over to Minnesota. We got some protests going on there. Something interesting is always happening in Minnesota. So let's have a look. We're going right to it. Like and subscribe, guys. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for sticking with me through that whole thing. We are going on to the next story, right to the protest. This is outside of the Whipple building in Minneapolis, the federal building. Because we got something going on here. Something going on.
We love you. Yeah.
Oh, shut up. Plugging other channels in here. Fuck out of here. I'll do the channel plugging. Beat it. Scram.
Tribal members are also citizens of the United States since 1924. You know, there's nobody more American
the Iranian
than American Indians. But they were unable to find them here today. And so they're going to continue on. They got some contact information. They love the fact that you're here, that everybody's here, and they're going to be giving out tribal IDs to their tribal members who are in Minneapolis, St. Paul, at the American Indian Center down on Franklin Avenue. But I just want to say thank you to everyone that's here. Stay vigilant and stay assertive, stay constructive. We're in unprecedented times, the way that I see it. So my name is Chase Iron Eyes. I'm an
That's a cool
tribal
name.
member.
That is a cool fucking name. Chase Iron Eyes. I like that.
Of the elected officials that made a trip all the way here. And that is Don Roy Gosper. I just want to recognize them for a second. Councilman Don Roy Gosper, Councilman George Dreamer, Councilman Garfield Steele, Councilman Tyler Lunderman, and there's one more, Councilman Ryan Jumping Eagle. They came all the way here to retrieve their tribal members who were captured by ICE, and we failed in that mission today, but it will continue. So stay where you're at and stay vigilant is all I can say. We're all concerned about, you know, this white supremacist influencer coming into town in less than 48 hours. We don't know their route, but our goal is to keep the good people of Minneapolis, St. Paul safe. So thank you very much.
That's code for attack the people that you don't feel safe around.
Coming from
Oklahoma Tribe, we have one message. And, ICE is not allowed on the reservation. We're closing our borders to any ICE agents. You're not allowed to come terrorize our tribal members on our homelands. You're not allowed on our fucking reservation.
They're not going to go there if you're all Native Americans. Why would he say that they're closing it down? I don't get that. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would they close it if they're Native Americans? You got nothing to worry about. You're all Native Americans, my man.
Period. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Oh,
We're sorry this is happening. Thank you. We won't forget your people.
you didn't have to throw that in there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Live in Minneapolis.
Here. Thank you.
It's not Minneapolis. It's Minneapolis. Outside of the Whipple building. That is the federal building that you see right there. These are the protests. It looks cold there. And this is from IRT Media. Big shout out, IRT Media.
Yeah. There's a shop down in Rochester you can buy them at. Yeah, there's like a surplus store. You can pick the colors and the size and all that stuff.
We got some action going on this side. Let's have a look. Do a forward acceleration. Little different angle here.
Oh yeah, she fucks like a dead ass fucking whale. That's true. He's got that little dick energy over there. The man keep talking. That's it. Little big energy. Little big energy. Because we're here. They're not out there. Because we're here. They're not out there.
Some little area up there.
For fuck's sake! He's got that little big energy! He's got excuses of a man!
Oh, they're gassing us! They're gassing us! Oh shit, they got the pop a few rounds. Go home and jerk off to that later.
They're just popping those off, huh?
You're all traitors! You're gassing yourselves, you fucking morons!
Shut up. Stop sizing me up. Ain't doing shit. I'll spray the fuck out of you. Shut up. Shut up. Donald Trump. God.
We got another angle to the sort of buildup of this happening here.
Free right to assembly! We have a free fucking right to be here!
This is when they started that push.
You're all traitors! We have a free right to assembly! It is guaranteed in the Constitution! Free right to assembly! This is treason! We have a free right to assembly! You're traitors!
Shame on you! Shame on you!
Shame! Shame! Shame!
slightly different angle of the federal agents coming out to quell the excitement, if you will. Looks like they're going to be, this is the part where they deploy the pepper balls, flashbangs, pepper spray. It's pepper balls, flashbangs.
We have a free right to assembly. It is guaranteed in the Constitution. What you're doing is betraying the Constitution. You are being un-American. We have a free right to assembly.
Okay, so here they come. Here's the push. They're going to arrest some people. You know, a lot of the time when they push like this, they've already got some people in mind. He heard you.
Whoa! We have a free right to assembly.
Like and subscribe, guys. Like and subscribe live from Minnesota. Just a scooch behind the live feed, just in case. People flying the upside down American flags. And now the federal officers are pushing back. Absolutely crazy.
Fucking punk, bitch! Fuck you, you punk bitches! Fucking cold-ass fucking bitch!
Wow. Shout out to IRT Media. It is cold out there. Yeah, they wanted them up on the sidewalk. Wow. That's intense.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
Wow.
Traitors, fucker! You fucking traitor! Traitor!
Now, that guy in the beard right there, he's been at quite a few of these protests. He was featured in an article I saw earlier.
Hey, back up! Back up! Back the fuck up! Back the fuck up! Back away from you! Alright, let's get it on camera then! Stop patrolling! Keep this shit up! You're gonna fuck around and find out! Insurrection act coming! If you guys don't behave tonight! If you don't behave tonight! Insurrection act! Go back!
I think they're just practicing at this point. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of this. Definitely going to be seeing a lot more of this out of Minnesota. Wow. That's a lot. I want to thank everybody for coming out and joining me today. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Welcome new subscribers. And thank you for hitting that like button and subscribing to the Zero Dark Tony channel. We will be covering quite a bit of this as it comes out. We love to cover the breaking news here. This live stream has over 180,000 views thanks to you. Leave a comment in the comment section. All right, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you want to see. Communicate with me. And remember, the truth is a moving target, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you.